Hi guys, how's it going? So today's video, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the proposal project, which is the first part of 3 group projects that we will be working on for the remainder of the semester. So just a quick overview of the project as a whole. The goal of the project is for you to propose a website project on a sustainability topic you develop with your group in response to a request for a proposal issued by the fictional Rose Foundation for Environmental Justice. The goal of this project is to provide a guide and outline for the larger project, identify appropriate means of persuasion, and understand the necessary parts of a standard proposal. So the takeaway is both form and content. This is a solicited proposal. So as Burnett explains in the chapter that we read, a solicited proposal is written in response to an RFP, or request for proposals. When an organization turns to an outside vendor, consultant, or researcher to address a problem, it issues an RFP that identifies all the specifications the proposal must fill in order to be accepted, and the acceptance of a proposal means the award of a contract or financial grant. Just as a quick aside, solicited and unsolicited proposals. Unsolicited are typically within industrial, corporate, academic structures, are a key genre across a variety of industry. And while audiences will differ, projects will differ, the constituent features are typically consistent across fields and discourse communities. So for us, agencies like the Army Corps of Engineers, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the EPA, among hundreds of others, publish tons and tons of RFPs per year. So these links will take you to different RFPs. If you look at, for example, the EPA, there are hundreds of requests for proposals. So here's our RFP. So to address the terminal consequences of anthropocentric climate change, the Rose Foundation for Environmental Justice solicits proposals written in teams of 3 for a web-based multimodal resource designed to identify and educate stakeholders on one of the following topics. So any of the topics that we've looked at in this list that should follow from your definition sheets, or a topic of your choice, or a topic that is a subset of one of these topics. So we at the Rose Foundation for Environmental Justice contend that a lack of clear, consistent, multimodal language underwrites or precipitates these problems. And in order to support environmental education projects that promote ecological awareness and stewardship, your proposed project will help provide a range of audiences with the information required to take responsible actions to protect the environment. Okay, so let's just take a look at the assignment sheet itself. If you click here or click into, that's the wrong note, go ahead and log into Canvas. Thank you for your patience. So here we are at Canvas. Click into your section, scroll down to week 5, group project proposal. Go ahead and click here. It's embedded as a PDF, so if you want to make it bigger, here you go. All right, so the RFP that I just read is taken directly from the deliverable sheet. So we want to develop a plan for resources. We want to convince, me, the audience, or this like fictional foundation, that the problems you identify are manageable, organized, and workable. And then also we want to analyze and apply standard conventions for proposal writing. So again, that form of content. Just a note for the timeline for this. On Wednesday, I'd like you to introduce yourselves. On the 28th, I would like for you to upload a rough draft for me to review. And then finally, the whole of the project is due just before midnight on October 9th. Just some general specs. This is standard. 1-inch margins, 12-point Times New Roman. No more than 2 levels of headings, and a sans serif font, but I guess the Times New Roman takes care of that. Tables, figures, and bulleted lists should be next to or following the appropriate text reference, so not in an appendix. And then compose your group proposals, or consider proposing it in a tool of your choice. But you might want to note that something like Google Docs or another web-based tool is real-time collaborative, like synchronously collaborative, and that might be useful. And then finally, APA format for all in-text citations and references. Okay, so section requirements. And so again, if you read the Burnett chapter, she gives an overview of every single possible section requirement for all different types of proposals. This is sort of our project takes most of those key features with the obvious like omission is the financial component, right? So you don't have to do a budget. All right, so title page. It wants descriptive title, names of team members, names of the agency, right? So this fake Rose Foundation bit. And this is not included in the overall page number. Table of contents, level 1 headings, and then level 2 headings, and the page number for the first page of each section. So not inclusive pages. If you would, please also hyperlink the table of contents so that we can move from the contents to the section headings. A 1-page project summary. We'll talk some about the standard requirements for the project summary. So these first 3 pages are not part of the total 5 single space pages that fall into the project description. So the project description is the real core of these things. Keeping in mind that what you're trying to do is provide an accurate description of the project. You're telling a story that, really is kind of, it's not narrative, but you have a kind of problem, and then the context or constraints that keep you from solving the problem, and then you, like a hero, are going to then vanquish these constraints and solve the problem. The subcategories within this broader project description are objects and significance. We'll talk more specifically about that in a minute. Background and need, project plan, intellectual merit, and broader impact. So over the course of the next couple of weeks, we'll be looking at these subsections specifically, and I have lots of resources to support them. Finally, you're going to have to include a project plan of work as a Gantt chart. And we'll talk more specifically about Gantt charts for those of you who have not done it. The Gantt charts will fit into the broader schedule for the website itself. A 1-page section or shorter that minimally describes the technology used to produce the project. Biographical sketches and resumes on another page. You can just take the bios that you wrote from in the first week blog posts and then pop them in there, and then very short 1-page resumes. If you have those already written, go ahead and just reuse them. I can also provide templates for resumes. And then finally, a reference section in APA. You're free to read the assessment breakdown on your own. And then obviously your peers and I are your primary audience. But you're going to want to make choices that communicate key features to an audience who might be an expert in his or her field, but not in yours. So in the world of grant writing or of proposal writing, typically the respondents are a panel of 3 or more experts, but in separate fields. Okay, so that's the quick overview. Before we move any further, if you want to, here are a couple sample proposals where you can see how they have laid out the different components of the requirements. All right, so this one's a little bit shorter. So it's like kind of truncated. This is the sample, one of the samples on the EPA website. And then also this one is from a recycling project in San Francisco. I have another link on the Canvas page to one other proposal, so you're free to look at those as when you have time. All right. So just a quick note on collaboration. If you didn't see my announcement, you have all been included in uh, group subgroups on Teams. Teams is not like the greatest software on the planet, but it's Georgia Tech has a license, and so they're asking us to use licensed software. So if you click here, it'll take you to 3403. Let me just see what those look like. So again, you are welcome to um, use whatever communicative software you would like to, but if this makes it easier for you, that's fine. Go ahead and use it all term. And then here's a group project thread that I will leave open if you have any questions. And then also for Friday, if you would propose some solutions to environmental problems. So there's a prompt, and then there's no response this week because Canvas won't let me do it. So, all right. So before we move into the assignment proper, just note that also on the assignment sheet in Canvas, on the very last page, you can find a kind of quicker overview of what the website itself should look like. So just keeping in mind, the proposals due October 9th, and then from October 9th to November 20th, you will build this website. So from here on out, the semester is group-based, building this, first the proposal, and then building the website with all of these specific requirements, and then you'll do a user report, and that's your last project for the class. So just quickly, things to keep in mind about the site. I think this is important. So while required elements for the site can be completed collaboratively, they're broken down, the requirements are broken down into parts that can be completed individually or in collaboration, right? So you can build it in whatever tool you want. If you want to build it from scratch, go for it. If you want to use a builder, go for it as well. It doesn't matter to me. Just in general, it has to have a splash page, a purpose statement, and it has to be navigable. And then also consistent aesthetic and design that corresponds to both the rules governing visual design, but is consistent with the content, right? All right, so content. I would like for you to do a podcast, either 5 to 7 minutes, and that would be with all three of you. Or if you're having difficulty managing workflow, 2 minutes, 2 minutes each. And I have some samples of what those podcasts can look like. I would like one fact sheet for an expert audience, and one infographic that translates the expert facts into a non-expert audience. So remember. Well, we can talk about that later. A specialized visual with an extended caption, and a specialized visual with an extended caption for non-experts. So again, you want one of the goals of this is to look at ways we engage audiences depending on their needs. Everybody's gonna write one short article, about 800 words, for non-experts. A glossary that you can adapt from your definition sheet and proposal, 10 to 15 words, maybe, or 10 to 15 entries, maybe, I don't know, 40 to 100 words each. Recycle your bios one last time, and then your reference section that you can just copy over from your proposal and then add anything that you need to it. So there'll be an expanded website assignment sheet when we get to that, but as you look forward, this is what it's supposed to look like. All right, so back to the presentation. All right, so this week we're really thinking about topic selection and purpose. So as you work with your group to select your topic, consider the goal of the website you're proposing as pedagogical. So what environmental, climatological, or sustainability related issues would be served if the general public had a better understanding of that constellation of problems and solutions? And then how is your website going to redress this lack of knowledge? So I think a good example is the recycling is a myth, right? Taking just one example, this article that was published in NPR a couple days ago. It's just like the tip of the iceberg that argues, even though it seems as if recycling is this sort of like grand supply managed process, right, that allows us to consume and then, like neatly save the things that we're over consuming, that's not really true, right? That nobody's taking our plastic, or not our plastic, that a bulk of our plastic and other garbage winds up in landfills. And so, what does that mean? How can you consider when selecting a topic? For example, what would it take to convince an audience or institution that recycling is mostly performative, right? So that you could then suggest an alternative communicative strategy and practical strategies for dealing with waste and overconsumption, right? So it's not just big oil, right? It's like institution-wide, standing around separating our bottles from our cans and feeling good about ourselves when that's just sort of a myth, right? But that the myth is communicative as much as it is material. All right, so again, this question of what type of topic can you choose that will help frame out the objective and significance of the project. So be specific about the problem, its importance, and your overall approach, and the value of your approach, right? That's like the real key and the thing that you should really be focusing on this week. All right, so as we move forward, finally, remember the myth of the materials we consume neatly and recycle. Sorry, the slide's a little out of order. Anyway, okay, so finally, next week we'll think about background and need. So background and need is another way of saying methodology and sources. So we'll talk a lot about citation, evaluating sources, and then how to work with those sources within the confines of like the genre specifications. We'll also talk about project planning next week. So who's going to do what, when are you going to do it, what approaches are appropriate, etc. And then rounding out into the third week, we'll think some more about intellectual merit and broader impacts. So my very last note on this, looking at the requirements for the chart, is that listed at the very end of the assignment are the progress report due dates. So when you go to build out your Gantt chart, you're both going to want to think about workflow and then also these progress report dates. So, all right, this has been a very long video. I hope that it was helpful. I will also upload the slideshow. That's it. Thanks, guys.